We're from the town with the great football team. We cheer the Pittsburgh Steelers.
Hey guys, welcome to Picksburgh. My name is Anthony. I appreciate you joining me for another one of these sports card investing videos. Today I want to talk about a topic that I've actually been asked a lot recently, and that is how do I decide which cards I'm going to grade? So I'm going to get into that in this video, guys. But before we get into that, do me a favor. If you haven't already subscribed, click that subscribe button because we are on the road to 2,000 subscribers. And when we get there, we're doing slabs or cash. That means that you will have the opportunity to either get my cold hard cash or my graded cards. So guys, that's going to be really fun. Just something I want to do to thank you guys for all of the support that you've shown. Also, if you would throw a thumbs up on this video, that lets YouTube know I'm doing something good and it pushes this out to more people. Without further ado though, let's get into how I decide what cards to grade. First thing I do, guys, is you got to look at it on a per player basis. For example, anything Michael Jordan in good condition, in my opinion, it's grade worthy. So if you're able to find anything Michael Jordan in good condition, send that sucker off to PSA. So there are certain players that are just always grade worthy. For example, this past season, anything Ja Morant, anything Zion Williamson that I'm pulling out of packs, grade worthy. That's insta grade stuff, guys. So yeah, the first thing I look into, guys, is the actual player that I want to grade. If it's Michael Jordan or one of the GOATs, grade it. If it's one of the young rookies that are super hot, rate it. So that's kind of the criteria. That's the first thing I look for. That's the easiest way to know if you should grade something is by the player. If it's a generational talent, I think it's always a grading candidate, so long as the condition is good. Now, the next thing I look for in grading, now there's plenty of players that aren't Hall of Famers or the top rookies that you can still get some value out of, and a lot of that has to do with certain sets. Now, the biggest set really is Prism. That's like the king of football and basketball. So when you're looking into things to grade, even like say your lower end rookies that you're banking on, what you want to do is if you're going to consider sending any of that stuff and you want to go to the sets that are command the highest dollar. So those sets would be Prism. You would want to look into Select. You would want to look into Optic. Maybe even Mosaic to a little bit lesser of a degree. Like any of those major Chromium sets, those are the primary sets that a lot of people grade. But also something to keep in mind with grading those sets is you'll get into a lot of different condition issues with a lot of them chromiums as well. And that's something we'll get into here when we talk about condition. The next thing I look into is population. For example, I was just talking with my buddy Paul, Gate City Picker, the other day, and he was sending me and Nate a picture of a Michael Jordan card. He said, "Hey, I can't find this on any pop report. Do you think I should send this in?" We were both like, "Heck yeah." Not only is it Michael Jordan, you should grade any Jordan in good condition, but it's one that literally is not in PSA's database. Like, heck yeah, you get a good grade on that. That's a pop one. You definitely want to send that in. So that's definitely something to look into, guys, is population reports. For example, I was telling you Prism is a great set to grade. Now, being that it's such a great set to grade, a lot of people grade it. So that's where you can kind of get a lot more long-term value going into some of the sets that have a lower population report when you're sending stuff into grade. Another thing to look at is scarcity, and especially like numbered cards and stuff like that, because they're already rare to begin with because they're numbered out of so many. But then once you grade it, it's even more scarce. So numbered cards are great to send in as well. But again, guys, population is everything. The next thing I really look at when I'm deciding what I'm going to grade is condition. And the nice thing about this step is my buddy Nate, Every Day I'm Hustlin, does my PSA subs for me. So that puts a second set of eyes on condition. So not only do I go over my cards and send only what I think is the best to him, but I also have him go over it a second time just to verify that I'm sending in the best quality stuff. And this past time, we actually had a couple cards that we pulled from the order just because it was something that I missed that he was able to catch. So condition is everything, guys. The things you really want to look out for, there's 4 major things that PSA, BGS, SGC, GMA, the 4 major things that all of these grading companies look for is the easiest thing to tell on most cards is centering, at least the ones that have a border around it. You can very easily tell if it's perfectly centered left to right, top to bottom. If it's not, that could knock it down in grading. And each grading company on their website will actually tell you the percentages that they allow to still gem out as a 10. So that's something that would be a little bit different per each company. So depending on where you're sending cards, you might also want to look into their criteria because they will tell you exactly how they grade and what they're looking for. So that's definitely something I would recommend. But condition is everything. So I always check centering. Now you can still get away if it's not badly miscentered, still pulling a 10 in some circumstances. If not, you could drop down to like maybe a 9, unless it's just like super, super bad. Then you could go below that. But the next thing to really look for, guys, is corners. And those are easier to find too, because normally if you have a dink in the corner, it's going to look white, or you're going to just see like a little bend in it or something like that. So you want to make sure you have nice, sharp, crisp corners on your cards. That's one of the easier things to check as well. I mean, obviously, if you have a card that's like bent to heck or anything like that, that's not a grading candidate. Now, in some circumstances, like we were talking about with population and stuff like that, you still might get away with it. Now, say, for example, you had a Michael Jordan that had a big old crease in it, a Michael Jordan rookie card, not just any old Michael Jordan, but say you had his rookie card with a crease in it. I would send that sucker in to get it encapsulated all day, every day. You know what I mean? Because that is a piece of history there. But for the most part, you want to make sure that there's no kind of bends, creases, dinks, none of that stuff. The next thing they look at is your edges, which is along the sides of the cards to make sure they're not all chewed up or anything like that. And then the last thing they're going to really look into is the surface of the card, which is more of a concern on more chromium sets like the mosaics, the prisms, the selects, the optics, those type of things. Oftentimes you can get scratches on those pretty darn easy. And there's a lot of printing defects too, like little divots. I've seen little marks that look like a thumbnail print in the back of the card, so you really want to check it really nice under some form of light so you can see every single glisten of that surface, because that's one that they can really knock down these chromium sets for, is the surface. So once I've assessed all of that stuff, I got the right players, it's the right set, I know the populations are good, I know the cards are good. The last thing I want to look at before I send them in, because it's expensive, guys, to grade cards, depending on where you go, if you go through a subgroup or how you do it, it's expensive. I always recommend Nate because he goes through the extra measure of checking the stuff, plus he hooks it up on the low. So the one thing I always check before grading is the demand of the card. I want to see if people are buying it, if it's hot, if the market is up on these players. So normally I will take a bunch of players that are just blowing up, or players that I know are going to be like long-term holds. And those are the players I send in right away. So demand is everything, guys. You know what I mean? To get it back and into the market as soon as possible, because the way at least the basketball market operates is like the stock market. Things are so up and down with every single game. So that's something that you really need to be careful with, is you may send something in and it may be 6 months before you get it. By the time you get it, it could be the off season. So you might have to then, to get the best value, hold on to it for, another few months until the season starts back up. So those are just the type of things I look for, guys. Those are the 5 major things. And again, just to run through them, is the player, the set, the population, the condition, and the demand. Those are the 5 things I focus on when choosing which cards I'm going to grade. If you guys have any questions in regard to grading, then you just feel free to leave a comment down below on the video, or go to the Facebook group and reach out, and we would be happy to help you guys with anything. And guys, I really do appreciate you watching this video. May God bless you, and take it easy.